You have the firsthand experience of Nathan Cole, a farmer in Connecticut who writes a diary in which he describes hearing about George Whitfield coming to a nearby town and dropping his farm equipment, immediately going to get his wife, putting her on a horse and running alongside of it off and on until he arrives in this town in Connecticut to hear George Whitfield preach, and then describing this conversion experience that he has there. I mean, this is from a farmer's diary, which is incredible to read. So you get a number of different experiences, and a lot of them probably are not well known or known by the general public. So it's sort of fun to get, people to think about evangelicalism beyond these sort of big names who are definitely important and should be studied, but also what about the other experiences of evangelicalism? All right, so this is from the diary of Nathan Cole, and it's about his experience of going to, he hears about George Whitfield is going to be in a town, and then he wants to go and hear him preach. So importantly, at the very top of this diary, he wrote, "I was born February 15th, 1711, and born again October 1741. Interesting, right? So he says, when I was young, I had very early convictions, but after I grew up, I was an Armenian until I was near 30 years of age. So what is he saying there? He's saying that I was focused on a works-oriented Christianity. So that's sort of Armenianism was a catch-all term to mean that. So that's what he's saying there. So he further clarifies, I intended to be saved by my own works, such as prayers and good deeds. Now it pleased God to send Mr. Whitfield into this land, and my hearing of his preaching at Philadelphia, like one of the old apostles, and many thousands flocking to hear him preach the gospel, and great numbers were converted to Christ, I felt the Spirit of God drawing me by conviction. I longed to see and hear him, and wished he would come this way. I heard he was come to New York and the Jerseys, and great multitudes flocking after him under great concern for their souls, which brought on my concern more and more, hoping to see him. But next I heard he was at Long Island, then at Boston, and next at Northampton. Then on a sudden, in the morning about 8 or 9 of the clock, there came a messenger and said, Mr. Whitfield preached at Hartford and Wethersfield yesterday and is to preach at Middletown this morning at 10 of the clock. I was in my field at work. I dropped my tool that I had in my hand and ran home to my wife, telling her to make ready quickly to go and hear Mr. Whitfield preach at Middletown. Then run to my pasture for my horse with all my might, fearing that I should be too late, and so forth and so on. Yeah. And then he describes what is, I think conceptually it could be viewed as sort of a traffic jam of horses coming into the town, as like a dust bomb went off. And you can almost visualize all these horses and people coming into this town converging to hear Whitfield preach. And he describes that experience, and he even describes Whitfield coming on the stage as looking angelic. So it's, of course, a biased interpretation after the fact of his conversion. So he goes on to say, I heard a noise something like a low rumbling thunder, and presently found it was the noise of horses' feet coming down the road, and this cloud was a cloud of dust made by the horses' feet. It arose some rods into the air over the tops of hills and trees, and when I came within about 20 rods of the road, I could see men and horses slipping along in the cloud like shadows, and as I drew nearer, it seemed like a steady stream of horses and their riders, scarcely a horse more than his length behind another, all of a lather and foam with sweat, their breath rolling out of their nostrils every jump. Every horse seemed to go with all his might to carry his rider to hear news from heaven for the saving of souls.